Welcome back to Double Fries No Slaw. Florida State hot on the field to start the year. Josh, were you pretty? I mean, I guess everybody was, right? So maybe that's a stupid question, but thoughts on FSU beating Bama and then actually dominating somebody like they were supposed to yesterday?
Hey, it's an incredible start to the season. I've been asking FSU fans at the end of all our FSU videos, how do you recalibrate your predictions on the season? Like, you have to. There's no way even the most optimistic fans could see this start coming. I mean, it's been almost perfect to 2 weeks. You know, there's a lot to go, but Florida State was definitely in kind of a prove it phase of Mike Norvell's tenure, and I think the start is exactly what Mike was hoping for.
We'll get into some recruiting here, but I literally just tweeted this because I wanted to get an accurate gauge of what people thought. If I would have told you in the beginning of August that Florida State would be ranked in the top 10 right now after 2 weeks of the season, or that UF would be unranked after Long Island University and USF, like which one of those is, I don't know if there's a right answer on which one of those is crazier.
I'd probably be more surprised. I mean, geez. Probably more surprised that the Gators were unranked at this point, just two games in, knowing that they haven't really hit the hard part of their schedule. I mean, look at the next 3, 4, 5 games for the Gators. It doesn't get any easier from here. But to your point, to think that FSU could be that highly ranked after the season that they had last year, both are pretty unbelievable. And how about those Bulls? I mean,
your
USF USF hadn't had a ranked win in 9 years. And then they beat Boise State. And then a week later, they get another ranked win on the road at UF. And I mean, shout out to USF. I think they've gone into all 3 Big 3 stadiums in one.
Yeah. It's kind of, I mean,
they beat Miami on the road, haven't they?
I don't know if they beat them on the road or at home. They got a chance this weekend, I suppose.
Yeah, they definitely beat them at home. But yeah, that's crazy to go into Gainesville.
Yeah.
In a season like this where they were hyped to the point that they were hyped, and incredible game. I didn't believe it until it was over.
I do want to give some love to our friends over at Locke's. Keep cool with Locke's Air Conditioning, veteran owned and Tallahassee rooted. They bring precision service and installs from Tallahassee to Panama City. Their focus is top quality work, elite equipment, and unmatched customer care. They have budget-friendly pricing, customized solutions, and an incredible 10-year parts and optional labor warranty. For zero-cost repairs for a decade, hit up Locke's Air Conditioning. We appreciate them for their support. As much as we're enjoying a red-hot Florida State football team, you certainly don't want that to be your living room. So if you need a tune-up, if you need a replacement, make sure that you reach out to Locke's today. Take their number down, hit them up on the website. Appreciate Locke's for supporting the channel. Yeah, it's. I kept thinking he'd like choke on the field goalers.
Baby.
Like it's one thing to beat Boise when you're in Tampa. They don't have Genty. Like, all right, well that was cute, but then to go do it in the swamp is pretty ridiculous. And so, all right, Florida State hot on the field. It looks like Mike's hit on these coordinator hires from a schematic, from a on game day perspective. Again, 2 games. We'll see how the season plays out. But people are really impressed with what Tony's done. People are really impressed with what Gus has done. What about on the recruiting trail? When you've got guys, I mean, I don't know, what Gus's appetite for heavy recruiting is right now. But when you bring in guys like Tony White and Terrence Knighton and Cooper, the safeties coach, and you made some changes on offense too with Herb Hand and Tim Harris, like just can they translate that juice over? Do you see this more as a schematic staff? Just thoughts on their staff as a recruiting unit.
I think they've done a great job coming in, throwing out the old playbooks wherever they were, clearing out the shelves and putting in their new playbooks because it's worked. The complete cleaning of house is just what both the offense and the defense needed. As far as recruiting goes, I think a majority of the hay is already in the barn for Florida State. And remember the theme, Florida State got hot in July. They added a bunch of commitments from June into July, even into August. And the theme was like, hold your horses. The season's here. Like, there's going to be some attrition if the season's going to go the way that most are expecting it to. Well, they're not going to lose a lot of guys. Not if they keep playing like this. They're going to add a few. Not many, but the winning and the turnaround, if it comes to fruition, we're only 2 games in, but that'll impact 2027 heavily. A lot of 2026. I mean, there are some guys I think that they've already made a move on. Having DQ Forkba, I spoke to a source close to him. Sounded really good for FSU. I talked to him like 3 or 4 days ago. Sounded really good for FSU coming out of that one. Our guys, I think it was Steve Wiltfong or Chad Simmons, um, said he doesn't want to wait till signing. He just wants to know when he knows. He doesn't want to be one of these guys that ever backs off a commitment. So he was supposed to commit with us on our channel in July, and his agent texted me that morning that he wasn't ready. And I was like, all right, well, whenever he is, just let me know. And I've been in communication with them, and it'll happen when he's ready. But hearing what he thought of that FSU Bama game, it sounds really good for FSU right now. DQ Forkba. And then, they're kicking the tires on some guys. They were supposed to have a Georgia Southern commitment. He didn't make it in this weekend, but he will. So there's some fall evals happening. But in terms of like the big names, like a Keyshawn Henderson or somebody like that, I think they need to get him on campus. I mean, right now, I would say there's not any traction there until he locks in a visit. But we all know how that can change. I mean, all of a sudden, there's a game on Saturday. Thursday night, Steve Wiltfong's reporting that Keyshawn Henderson's going to be there. All of a
Just
sudden,
landed.
everything changes. So it doesn't take much to change it, but got to see him back on campus. Got to have plans for him to be back on campus. And until then, I think a lot of this is going to go a long way in 2027. We're already seeing it happen.
Yeah. On Forkpost specifically, he was at the Bama game, if I'm not misremembering that.
Yeah.
And it seemed like he was trending it seemed like he was going to pick UF. Like, was that where your pick was? Like,
oh, yeah.
Back in,
as far as that day that he was supposed to come in, I think the date was like July 19, July 21. It was something like that. And it was a Friday. We were going to do it at like 11 a.m. And I got a text that literally that morning at like 6:30 in the morning that he wasn't ready. And yeah, we were fully prepped for him to be committing to UF and really maybe over Michigan.
Yeah, it seemed like what's crazy is the hesitancy, and maybe we'll find out. I don't know if you know this or not to go so deep on this one recruit, but it seemed like Michigan was more of the team that got him to like hold off a little bit. And Florida State might end up being the team to capital. Like Michigan got him to wait, and Florida State might get him.
He's also really adamant that like he does not want to make a decision. And he said he doesn't want to be like Isaiah Williams. And it was ironic because the whole time he was hanging out with Isaiah Williams, and he even was quoted in some articles with Chad Simmons about how much he liked hanging out with Isaiah Williams, but he said he did not want to, go down that road of committing and decommitting.
I don't think anybody's quite like Isaiah Williams. Over under. Do you think Florida State keeps him? That wasn't even on my list for today.
Hey, right now, yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're a linebacker, you saw the way they were firing against Alabama and the way that they still need linebackers. And I at this point, I have no reason to believe. But Isaiah Williams comes and goes with the win, so we'll see what happens.
If they could get Forkpa and Williams, I can't remember a better linebacker class that they've had. Since Jimbo was here,
probably one of those classes, at least on paper.
Yeah, for sure.
At least on paper. And some of those Jimbo classes didn't hit, but they looked really good on paper too.
Yeah. Let's talk about running back a little bit. A couple of names, just thoughts on Florida State. I don't believe they have a running back committed right now, but Derek Cooper right now committed to Texas. Carson Baker committed to UF. We talked a little bit about the USF game a second ago. Florida State chances on both or with either, thinks there?
There's some things. I do so many shows with like Steve and some of these guys. There's something going on with Derek Cooper. I can just tell. When we start talking Derek Cooper with Steve, he's always dropping this FSU mention. Trey, am I right? Like it almost comes out of nowhere a little bit. It's almost like he's
getting him ready.
Foreshadowing. It's almost like he's foreshadowing. Like he doesn't say much, but anytime we talk FSU or talk Derek Cooper, he makes a mention that FSU, just watch FSU. So while I'm not calling a flip, I don't have any reason to believe he's on flip watch to Florida State or anything like that. There's something brewing there. So there is something to the Derek Cooper stuff. The Carson Baker, to me, you got to get him back on campus. But Amari Latimer out of Tyrone, Georgia. He's committed to Wisconsin. He's 6 foot 215. I think he's a guy that I would also watch. So there's a few, FSU's got a few irons on the fire right now. Obviously, it's going to be a flip because all the top players in America are already committed somewhere. But those are three good names. I couldn't tell you right now how it's all going to shake out, but I would definitely watch those three when it comes to running back.
I'm sure you've been watching Ousmane Kroma in his first couple of performances, and how, the answer is like obvious, but if they can continue to feature him and he can continue to run as violently as he does, how much does that help them with some of these guys that will be true freshmen at this time next year to say, hey, dude, come play like he is?
Yeah, I mean, everybody's got a back. So to see a freshman starring, I mean, that's all that these kids are asking for is an opportunity to come in and do it. And Chroma's making the most of his opportunity. He looks like a beast. It looks like they're going to continue to feed him a little bit more and a little bit more until he's full. And, who knows, by the end of the season, he could be the feature back.
Yeah. And that flip happened. Was that was a signing day flip? Kind of unexpected out of nowhere, or maybe just before?
Chroma was signing day or signing day eve. It was right around there. But yeah, that was a big one. I mean, and that was another one where FSU just kind of was a name to watch for a long time before it really bubbled up, and all of a sudden Chroma's flipping to FSU. All the picks are flipping, and it was like 3 or 4 days. So I don't remember exactly what day it was, but yeah, it was around then.
So if they stay in with people, you just never know.
If they keep winning.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and in the ACC, and then we were talking about that at the very beginning.
Just think about it, TJ.
They win a lot of games.
Hold on, think about it. When Amari Latimer committed to Wisconsin on June 28th, he's a kid from South, Tyrone, Georgia, wherever the hell that is, Sandy Creek High School. When he committed there in June at the end of June, Florida State didn't look as appetizing as it does right now to stay a little bit closer to home, especially if they keep winning. All of a sudden you're like, well, why am I going to go up to Wisconsin when, Florida State's running the ball like this?
Anybody else in the 26 class that you kind of have your eye on for Florida State that they may be close with or doing well with?
There's going to, I think they're definitely going to look for an edge player. They're going to look for an offensive lineman wherever they can. I think that if they keep playing the way that they are, I think Florida State is going to have a chance to really swing a big stick down in around early signing day.
Ceiling of maybe about the 10th ranked class per the Rivals charts.
I would think so. Somewhere in that range, 8 at best. If Florida State really gets after it this season and wins 10 games and they're really aggressive on the trail, adding like 4, 5, 6 more players, maybe they got a top 10, top 8 class, but I think 10 or 11 would be a good finish for Florida State at this point.
Yeah. And it probably also, unless the bottom falls out, they've probably also raised the floor to where it'd be no worse than 14-ish, 15. Like I couldn't see them finishing much outside of that unless they really just kind of go crazy.
Yeah. And it'd have to be a real disaster for them to finish like outside the top 16, 17.
Let's ask about a 27 kid real quick, and then just maybe anybody else that you're thinking in that class. But Kavian Bryant, just thoughts there. It seemed like Florida State was kind of trending that way, and then seen some reports that maybe he's leaning elsewhere. Just I know it's a long time until he'll end up signing, but quarterbacks do usually go pretty early. Thoughts on him?
Yeah. No, he won't. I mean, I don't think he's going to make it to Thanksgiving from what I'm hearing. I think Kavian Bryant, Peyton Houston, one of the top quarterbacks out of California, he's set to make a decision on September 18th, September 16th. So like 8 or 9 days from now, he's a top 10 quarterback. He's going to come off the board. I mean, I think Kavian Bryant's going to make a decision, like I said, in the next 6, 8, 9 weeks, somewhere in that range. And I don't know if he was ever trending to Florida State. I wouldn't put it that way. I think there's a lot of buzz about Florida State between making that summer visit and then coming back for week 1 and then FSU winning. And the cool part about his visit is it was essentially, and this is what kind of indicates he's in decision-making mode. He stayed at Florida State till Monday. The game was on Saturday. It was like an official visit. So his family at least treated it like an official visit. They were there. So that tells you that this was more than just, hey, we're flying in for the big game and we're flying out. They flew in for a big game and then they stayed to see what Florida State has to offer. And that very well could be the last face-to-face visit between FSU and Kavian Bryant before he makes a decision. And is there any better way, if that is the final impression face-to-face, is there any better way than the weekend that they had? So I think in terms of what Florida State, the hay's in the barn there. They did the best they could of winning the ball game, being able to host him, having him on campus for multiple days. Now you got to weather the storm of when he returns to Texas, when he returns to Texas Tech. It seems like those are the two programs that are primarily the competition right now for Florida State. And then when does he make his decision, and does he make it back to Tallahassee? And I don't think he has to make it back to Tallahassee for them to land him, but it would be good if he did.
Yeah, maybe a top 5, top 10 matchup coming up in a couple of weeks would certainly be good against the Canes. Just anybody else in the 27 class, do you think they're, I know, again, that's a class that's far off, but
I mean, they're doing great. They had that big wide receiver Lawrence Britt on campus.
Yep.
They had, it was pretty cool. They had a Miami edge prospect that's committed to Miami on campus, and they offered him. That always goes a long way when, you're committed to the rival. You made the trip up to Tallahassee. They offered you while you were on campus. They won big. So, they're just laying the foundation right now to really get hot in 2027.
I'll get right back to chatting with Josh, but first I do want to tell you guys about the Sleeper app one more time. Appreciate Sleeper for their support. Listen, there's fantasy football on that app. There's eliminator leagues. Maybe we'll do a double fries, no slaw pick 'em that you guys can get involved with. Give away some tickets to the Champions Club or something like that for the winner. Mental note that down. We'll get it done. But listen, we've been making money with the more or less. Hopefully you took some of that more and that less in that USF game here. Sleeper has a phenomenal interface. One of the best places you can go just to go check the scores. There's a UF score that you guys all enjoyed from Saturday. You can see their fans freaking out in the comments on it. You need to be on the Sleeper app. Use our code DFNS for 100% match up to $100. If you want to play the more or less game with me and Richie every Wednesday night, we would encourage you to do so. But one way or the other, you should have this app. You should use our code to get it so that when you do deposit, you can get that bonus. But make sure that you go check out Sleeper's terms and conditions. They do apply. See their terms of use for details. Appreciate Sleeper for their support. It's the app that you guys need to be on for all things sports. Josh, talk to me about your show, where people can find it, where most FSU fans know where to follow you, but just all your stuff you got going on.
Yeah, the Inside Scoop. We're about to tape that. Actually, I'm sitting at my desk right now. As soon as you let me go, we're going to start taping my show for Sunday. But I'll talk about our recruit reaction show that I do with Steve Wiltfong on Saturday nights. It's really cool. We go live right after the midday slate, so around 7:30 Eastern. We go live. And we go kind of game by game. We talk about the game, but also from a recruiting perspective. And Steve is getting instant recruit reaction to his phone. So it's kind of like having Adam Schefter up there. And he's reading the responses. We're talking about the games. Some of the games are going final. Some of the games are about to go. But we talk about it in terms of recruiting and who's on campus, what it means, and all that. So join us for those recruit reaction on YouTube on Saturday nights.
How long before we can get you and Trey back together to do another rollcast?
I just did one.
No, it was great. Well, like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks, something like that.
Yeah, like 3 or 4 weeks.
It's time for another one. That was our good luck charm.
Yeah, we need to do it again.
Thanks for hanging out, Josh.
All right, man. Sounds good. Thanks.